online classes? You have seen my video, haven't you? What did I just ask you? It's a question tag, which is our new topic in this video. So let's get started. In this video, children, we are going to discuss what are question tags and how do we use them. So what exactly are question tags? Question tags are short questions that are put after the regular statements or sentences so that they become questions. Now when we say, he is from Delhi, then it's a statement. But the moment we say, he is from Delhi, isn't he? It becomes a question tag. Or if we say, you are doing your project, aren't you? Then also it becomes a question tag. So these short questions like isn't he, aren't you, attached at the end of the statements are known as question tags. Okay. Now there are different types of question tags, but the rules are almost similar for each type. But before that, let us first see how we make question tags. First of all, let us take a statement. Suppose he is reading. Then add a short question to it. Isn't he? So if you see in our statement, we have a subject, an auxiliary verb, and a main verb. Similarly, in our question tag also, we have the same auxiliary verb followed by the subject, which is the pronoun he in this case. So we have the subject over here, plus the auxiliary verb, plus the main verb in our statement. After that, we have a comma. And then we have the auxiliary verb. After that we have not. Since we had the auxiliary verb is in our statement, so we are using the same auxiliary verb is in our question tag also, followed by the personal pronoun he. So while framing question tag, you need to see the pattern in the statement. The subject of the statement should match the subject or the personal pronoun in the question tag, and the auxiliary verbs in the statement as well as in the question tag should be same. Now children, you also have to follow some basic rules in question tags. So rule number 1, the statement and the question tag has to be opposite, which means if your statement is positive, then the question tag will be negative, and if your statement is negative, then the question tag will be positive. So pay attention to the statement, as you need to know whether the statement is positive or negative in order to make your question tags correctly. Now let us understand this with the help of the following example. You haven't been to Delhi, have you? Now if you see in the statement, we have you haven't been to Delhi. Haven't is the short form of have not. Since not is present in the statement, so our statement is negative over here. Then our question tag will be positive. That is why we only have the auxiliary verb have here in the question tag. Understood? Now come to rule number 2. So the next rule states that if you have modals in the statement like will, would, can, could, shall, should, etc., then it follows the same pattern. That is, the modal verb needs to be there in the question tag. So we are not going to use an extra auxiliary verb or anything else. We will simply use the modal given in the statement to frame our question tags. For example, your brother can play piano, can't he? So you can see in the statement we are having the modal can, and we are using the same model to frame our question tag, can't he? Okay. The next example could be, we won't do this, will we? I hope you understood this. Now children, rule number 3 states that if the main verb is in the forms of do, be or have, which are also auxiliary verbs, but if we use them as main verb in our statements, then we can directly use them in our question tags. Okay. For example, you are happy, aren't you? So over here you can see we are using are, which is one of the be form, and we are using are as a main verb over here, and we are using it directly in the question tag. Okay, so we need not add a new auxiliary verb in our question tag. We can directly use the main verb given in the question, given in the statement, in our question tags. Okay, now come to the next example. That's your sister, isn't it? So again we are using is, which is used as a main verb in our statement to frame our question tags. All right. Now children, you have to consider the tense of the statement while framing the question tag. Now the tense of the question tag is determined by the tense of the auxiliary, modal or the main verb of the statement. For example, if the statement is in simple present tense, then the question tag will also be in the simple present. For example, it's Friday today, isn't it? So just see, the statement here is in simple present tense as we are using is, which is the present tense form of be. So our question tag is also is in the simple present tense. That is why we are writing isn't it. Understood? But sometimes we don't have auxiliary verbs in the statement. We only have the main verb like play, dance, sings, etc. In that case, we have to look for the subject and the tense of the statement. If the subjects are I, we, you and they, that is the first and the second person singular plural and the third person plural, and the tense of the statement is simple present, then we will use auxiliary verb do. And if the subject is third person singular, that is he, she, it, or name of any person like Rahul or James or Harry, then we would use auxiliary verb does. Understood? But if the statement is in simple past and we don't have auxiliary verbs in that statement, then no matter whichever subject we have, we would be using the auxiliary verb did in the question tag. Okay, now let's see some examples to understand it even better. Now children, let us go through some examples. Now if you look in these two sentences, both the sentences are in the simple present tense form. Why? Because the verbs, the main verbs in these two sentences are verb form 1, that is plays and it. So both of them are in simple present tense. That is why the sentences also are in simple present tense. Okay. Now you have to remember two things over here while framing question tags. Firstly, you have to see the main verb is in which tense, because depending upon the tense of the main verb, we will frame the question tag, and then you have to look out for the auxiliary verbs. If you have auxiliary verbs in the sentence statements, then you will use them in making question tags. Okay, but if we look carefully over here, we don't have any auxiliary verbs. Are we having any auxiliary verbs? No, because we only have the main verbs plays and it over here. All right, but if you see, we in the first sentence we have used the subject James. Now James is referred as a third person singular form. Okay, I had told you earlier while teaching tense that the subject, if it is he, she or it, or names of a person or place or any animal, all these will be considered as third person singular. Okay, so since we are using James over here as the subject, so we know that it is third person singular form. All right, and if you remember one more thing, that when I had told you, when we are framing questions with third person singular, we use the auxiliary verb does in the simple present tense. Okay, so since we don't have any auxiliary verb over here, so while framing question tag we will use does. All right. And one more thing, you have to look for the statement. If the statement is having not, then it becomes a negative form. But now if you see in the statement, we have James plays football. Now this statement is not having not or never, any word like that. So this statement is positive. So what will be our question tag? Our question tag will be in negative form. Okay, so we are going to use does because we are using the third person singular over here, and we will use not because our statement is positive, so question tag will obviously be negative, and we will be using he. Why? Because James is a masculine gender, so the pronoun for the masculine gender will be he. If it had been Mary or any other feminine gender, then we would have used she, and the sentence will end with a question mark. Alright, that is why we have the statement James plays football, comma, the question tag is doesn't he. Similarly, if you look in the second statement, we have you eat fish, don't you. Again, we don't have any auxiliary verb over here. Then which auxiliary verb are we going to use? For that, we will look into our subject. Our subject is you over here, that is second person. It could be the singular or plural because in both the cases we are using you, so we don't know whether it is singular or plural, but obviously it is second person. And since we don't have an auxiliary verb over here, then while framing questions, what are we going to use? We are going to use the auxiliary verb do. Okay, again the statement is positive, so we are going to use not, that means the question tag will be in negative form, and the pronoun you will be used after don't. So our question becomes you eat fish, comma, don't you, ending with a question mark. Okay, and remember one thing, it's very important that you separate the statement from the question tag with the help of a comma. This comma is very important, it's must. Okay, I hope you understood these two examples. Now children, let us go through some examples where our statements are negative but our question tag are positive. Okay, now if you look into the first sentence, she won't listen to you, will she? Now we have the subject as she, right? That is third person singular, and then we have the auxiliary verb won't. Won't is the short form of will not. Okay, and then it is followed by the main verb listen. So if you see, we are having not over here in this sentence, in this statement rather, so our statement becomes negative. So as I had told you the trick earlier, if the statement is negative, our question tag will be positive, right? So when we frame the question tag, we will use will from here, but we will not use not. Okay, we will use the auxiliary verb will followed by the pronoun she, ending with a question mark. So our question will become she won't listen to you, comma, will she. I hope you understood this. Now look into the next statement. You don't know David, do you? Again we are having don't over here. Don't means do not. It's an auxiliary verb but with a negative sense, right? So since we are using not in this statement, so our entire statement becomes negative. So when our statement is negative, our question tag will always be positive. That is why we are using the question tag do you. Understood? Now why you? Because you is the subject over here. Is that clear, everyone? Now children, let us look into the next example. It's a nice day, isn't it? You just see the way I say. I repeat again. It's a nice day, isn't it? So you saw that my voice is going from high to low. Okay, which means that either I am seeking agreement or confirmation. So I want you to agree with my statement or I want you to confirm my statement, and that is one of the most important usage of question tags. So whenever you want someone to agree with your statement or you want someone to confirm your statement, you use the question tag. Remember this. Okay, now again, if you see our statement over here, it is in positive sense. It is positive because we are not using no or not over here, right? So obviously our question tag will be negative. Understood? And since we have used the auxiliary verb is over here, it means it is. All right, so we have used the auxiliary verb is, so we are going to use the auxiliary verb is along with not to frame our question tag. Understood? So most important is you have to remember where are we going to use these question tags. Whenever you are seeking agreement or confirmation, you use the question tags. If the statement is in positive statement, then the question tag will be negative, and if the statement is negative, then the question tag will be positive. Understood? Now children, let's look into another example that we have over here. You haven't seen Lisa today, have you? Now did you hear the way I spoke? I repeat again. You haven't seen Lisa today, have you? So you saw that my voice is going from low to high. Why is it so? It is because I am asking a genuine question. Alright. Now children, unlike the previous sentence where I was seeking for a confirmation or an agreement, over here I'm asking a genuine question where I want an answer. I want a clear-cut answer. Alright, so maybe the person would say that no, I haven't seen Lisa today, right? So children, remember one thing, whenever your voice goes from low to high, you are asking a genuine question where you are seeking an answer. You want an answer. Alright, and whenever your voice goes from high to low, then you are seeking a confirmation or you want somebody to agree to your statement, and in these two cases we are using the question tags. Alright, so children, that's all for question tags in this video. I hope you understood it. You may leave your queries in the comment section and I would address them later on. Thank you so much.